TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond.
Hello everyone, welcome to Your Real Estate Tea, where we teach so you are educated to achieve. I'm Andrea Farley, real estate broker with Maximum Realtor Partners. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in with us today. So on this show, we are going to talk about the state of the market. And we're going to also have some questions answered on how to navigate this market and also trends from a loan officer that I have on the line who is going to talk with us today about what she is noticing in the market and provide some insight and solutions to maybe something that you may be experiencing. So guys, if that's you or someone that you know, you owe it to yourself to tune in today. I want to also remind you that we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook. It would be under on YouTube, it will be live under TV 1061, and on Facebook, it would be under Your Real Estate Tea. And so I want to introduce my guest to you today. She is Deanna Turner with Loan Depot. Deanna, how are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. I'm glad you're doing well, and I want to thank you for joining us today to give people's boost, some hope, encouragement, and also just keeping it real as far as what is going on in this market. And I know that you're the perfect person for that.
Well, your show is called The Real Estate Tea, right?
There you go. There you go.
You know, I come straight with no chasers.
There, exactly. So, Deanna, let me just start by asking you, let's just start out with what is the rate right now, the mortgage rates?
Okay. Well, I get that question a lot, and I tend to answer with a market range, because I think a lot of people think that they should be shopping and talking to various different lenders, but sometimes you're talking with lenders that are in your market, and sometimes you're talking with lenders that are outside of your market. So your pricing, depending upon the lender, is going to change a little bit, but every day our rates are affected by the stock market, because mortgages are backed by securities that are traded on the market. Right now, the market is anywhere probably from about 3.25% to as much as 4%. But there are considerations that have to be made for credit score, property type, how long you would be locking your interest rate in for, the loan product that you're using, and the down payment that you're putting down. All of these things are factors, and they're called loan level or rate adjustments. And these things are all factored into what your ultimate rate is going to be. So your rate is actually going to be kind of specific to you, but the market right now is within that range.
Okay.
That is without any considerations for you paying additional discount points or for us charging an origination fee. We do not charge that fee. So we quote just based upon what's available that day, and you pay just the processing and underwriting fee with us.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for breaking that down, guys. I know a lot of times you may ask the question, you may hear, but again, there are so many different variables and factors that go into the rate that you get. And that's something that your lender can discuss with you in depth. And also, Deanna, when it comes to locking in a rate, right now, this market, you know, things are constantly moving. Houses are coming up on the market today, 30 minutes later, under contract.
It's gone.
So how is that a factor in someone who, okay, you know what, they maybe missed out on an opportunity, maybe 1, 2, 3, several tries of getting a house. What about their rate?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that because we've had some volatility in the market, especially, you know, with regards to the pandemic, that a lot of lenders are not offering an option for you to do what's called a lock and shop, okay? There weren't a lot of lenders that offered it before, and there are even less. I don't know of anyone offering it right now. But typically when you are looking, you're floating with the market. You're not able to lock your interest rate in until you have a property, and you're basically locking your rate based upon your contract, because now you have a property and you have a time frame. If you're closing within 30 days, you're locking for 30 days, maybe 45 days to give yourself some cushion. So when buyers are, quote-unquote, shopping rate, the danger in that is that there are a lot of lenders out there that will quote you a rate knowing that you can't lock the rate right now. And they'll quote you a rate, and it'll sound great. They're kind of telling you what they know that you want to hear because they want to get your business. They want you to commit to doing business with them now, knowing that if it's going to take you 10 attempts, you know, you've written 15 contracts and all your offers have been shot down over the course of a month or 2 or 3, by the time you actually are under contract, the rate that they quoted when you first met or first spoke with them is not going to be available. And then you're going to go with the rate that they give you at that time. So I don't like to play that game. That's why I talk a lot about what's going on the market.
Right.
And let them know, hey, interest rate today is today. I could quote you a rate right now, and because of market shifts that might happen this afternoon, we could see some fluctuation in the market, and that rate may move a little bit and might not be available by the end of today.
Right.
That's how our market is ebbing and flowing, especially more so when we had the previous president in office. He could say something about China in a press conference, and all of a sudden, there's a movement. There's some volatility. It's a ripple effect because our market is also impacted by the world market. So these are factors that we just take into account, or at least I do, and I'm sensitive to that. So I would say to anybody looking to shop around for rates, understand that since we had the market crash in 2007 and 8, that there's been a lot of legislation put in place to make sure that lenders are operating with your best interest at heart and that we're fair. And literally, you shouldn't be getting quotes from lenders that are so far apart, because because we all have to base our rates on the market and understand that there is base rate, and sometimes someone will quote you a base rate without consideration for all those other adjustments, or they might have an origination fee. So apples are not apples to apple comparisons all the time. You need to really ask questions and get things in writing. If a lender's not willing to give you a fee worksheet or something in writing, you really don't know what you have.
Right.
Because you need to look at the math. You need to see what is your rate, what are your fees.
Right. Yeah, I think that in general things can appear to be more attractive dollar-wise when in actuality it could be potentially more. And so I know, Deanna, we did mention, you said a lot. And so I do want you to kind of maybe tell buyers, what are some of the questions that they should be asking. And also just letting them know what's the importance of having a trusted team. We talked about that as well offline, just about having a team of a loan officer and an agent that you trust, because that is pretty much how you will navigate and what will determine the outcome. I won't say completely, but that will determine a lot as far as you navigating this market. So do you want to just talk on that, Deanna?
Sure. A loan officer is your advocate, okay? It's not my job to tell you this is your rate, this is your payment, this is your budget, this is the most that you can qualify for. It's my job to take where you are. I'm meeting you where you are. I'm looking at your scenario. I'm looking at your circumstances, because everybody's circumstances are different. And I am coming to you with a solution, an offering. But it is very important, at least in my opinion, and I've been a loan officer for 23 years in this market. I am a sales manager now at our branch in Stockbridge, and I tell my team all the time, you have to meet people where they are. You definitely have to cater to whatever their need is, and you have to be accessible. Accessibility is really important right now in this market because it's so volatile, and you have to have a relationship. I've never quite understood why people think they need to go to online or go to their banks and things like this, because in the end, the people that are going to be working the closest with you are going to be your realtor. And if your realtor has a lending partner, this is a trusted partner. This is someone that's working for their benefit and yours. That's very important, because sometimes your realtor needs to be able to get in touch with your lender. There needs to be some communication, constant communication between your lender and you, and your lender and your realtor. And when you use companies that you're not familiar with, or companies that they're not referring you to and they're not familiar with, that's usually where there's a disconnect. And right now, you got people out here that are paying full price, full list price for the house. They're covering their closing costs. They're offering more than what the house is even listed for. There's a lot of money on the line. And when you write these contracts, there are due diligence contingencies or finance contingencies, and every day matters. So you really need to have someone that's going to be accessible.
Right.
I tell you how many times I have been told that they're working with this company and they call the loan officer, they need an updated letter, they need an updated this, or the appraisal's not back, or what's going on, they can't even get a status update, and they call and they leave a message, they don't hear from these people for 2 and 3 days, or they call and they get someone else, but they don't get the loan officer. It's like the file got passed on to somebody else.
Right.
So
Time is always
reach me. Yeah, you can always reach me, and I'm a big advocate for you working with a realtor and that realtor's partner that is typically a lender that's in your market.
Right, absolutely. You mentioned a few things, just time being of the essence, because with that, of course, we know in this market, because of your word, I'll use volatility, things change in a moment. Having that accessibility, having that person that you know is here locally in the state makes a big difference when you have chosen a lender that is out of state, or and I know you mentioned banks, and we know that sometimes with banks, and I'm not going to say all banks or everyone who works for a bank, it's not something that you should choose or shouldn't consider. But sometimes when you work with someone who's on a salary, their attitude reflects. And so you want to make sure that you kind of get an idea of this person, this lender partner you're working with, their sense of urgency. Are they going to really pull out all the stops and really package everything together that would be best suited for you to make the loan work for you? Because at the end of the day, if the loan does not work, you don't get anything. And that's why it is ever so important to have that lender partner that you trust and an agent that you trust, so that way everybody on your team has your back. So I think that was very, very a very good point that you made with that, Deanna. So let me ask you this. Go ahead.
I said thank you. You summed it up well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So I know we have a lot to discuss, and I'm sure you're recognizing a lot of trends that you're seeing, with loan applications, Deanna, with, how these offers are coming back to you. I know you mentioned, some of the contingencies that are missing, or maybe some things that are being added to there. I know you don't get in depth on the contract like maybe an agent does, but only the things that apply to when it comes to an appraisal. And so let's pick up in just a moment. We're going to have a brief intermission, and we're going to go into some of those details. So guys, you want to stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Dynasty, and welcome to TV 1061. Join our network and broadcast your event live across the continent. Come to our studio and film and stream your talk show, sitcom, showcase, and broadcast it worldwide. Combine multimedia with your live stream. Independent filmmakers, show your movie and afterwards interview your cast live. Sponsors, advertisers, I'm talking to you. This is your chance for global exposure. These are very exciting times we live in. Traditional TV is all but a thing of the past. TV 1061 is now on the Roku platform with a viewership of 46 million and counting. Roku is an industry leader in internet TV. It is the most popular and fastest growing internet TV platform. If you are interested in developing and streaming your own show or movie, or coming in as a sponsor or an advertiser, please send your contact information with a short description of your interest to 1061tv@gmail.com. Thank you. Hi.
Hey guys, welcome back to Your Real Estate Tea, where we teach so you are educated to achieve. I'm Andrea Farley, real estate broker with Maximum One, and we have Deanna Turner, sales manager with Loan Depot, on the line, answering your questions about navigating this market. So Deanna, let's just kind of pick up and talk about some of the trends that you're noticing. What are some trends that you're seeing on loan applications, trends with appraisals, anything that's regarding the present state of this market from your perspective as a lender?
Well, as far as contracts are concerned, for a while now, it's been bottom line, your highest and best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't think anybody purposely makes an offer that's going to be their lowest and worst. But certainly when you put your offer out there, it's got to be your highest and best, because these folks aren't playing around out here.
Mm-hmm.
There are people getting, 30, 40, 50 offers on their home. I know of one realtor that had 100 offers over the course of one weekend for one open house. So when you are making your offer, go hard. It's got to be your highest and best, okay? And, it's unfortunate that, you got to resort to some other tactics in some cases where you've got to overbid to get the offer, but you really need to have cash in this market right now. Cash is king.
Yes.
So one trend that's big, that's very much affecting us, that I don't think people really give any thought about, is for a while here in Atlanta, we have been very spoiled in this market because we had so much builder inventory and so much existing home inventory that they were in competition with one another. And because of that, sellers would often offer a concession, or you could negotiate and get a seller to give closing cost concessions.
Right.
In other areas of the country, that is unheard of. So when people relocate here, they come with their cash because they're not expecting the seller to pay for anything. So the days of just having your down payment is not going to cut it in this market. You've got to be prepared, have your cash, be prepared for your down payment as well as covering your closing costs, because the people you're competing with are already of that mindset. Also, remember that prior to the pandemic, there were a lot of people that wanted to move here. We were already saying we full. Well, we really full now, okay, because they wanted to move here, but they didn't work here. Maybe they couldn't relocate here. They didn't get a job here yet. So those were two things that were keeping people from being able to relocate. And they said, oh, I'll eventually move to Atlanta later. Well, because of the pandemic, most employers allow people to work remotely. So if you can work remotely, you can live anywhere in this country that you want now. You got people coming here in droves from other areas of the country where the cost of living is much higher. And they come down here and they're like, ooh, this is great. I can buy all of this house for this. I've been paying this much, and I can pay this much less and get this much house.
Especially the California, New York, all of those areas. But in actuality, as far as the statistics I've saw or seen, California, Florida, and Texas are actually the top 3 states where a lot of people are moving to. So, yeah. Well, so there are people coming out, but there are a lot of people coming in as well.
Well, the thing of it is that those markets have that we don't have. They have a higher cost of living. It is a higher cost of living in California and Florida, and what was that other one that you
said?
Texas. Right. But I think our market is like number 4 or 5 on the list behind those 3.
It is.
Okay. So you have, first of all, Houston is huge. South Florida is huge. California is huge. So those markets are bigger than our market. But because of climate, here we might not get the hottest, but we don't have hurricanes and things coming through. We don't have earthquakes. We don't have the fires. We don't have the drought. We don't have the snow. We don't have a lot of adverse weather events that those other 3 areas have. And our cost of living is a lot less, comparatively speaking, but income earning potential is also just as good. So a lot of people are coming here in droves. But when they move from areas like the Northeast, the Midwest, like Chicago and areas like that, or the Northwest, like Seattle and so forth, and they owned a home there, and they've sold their home, they're coming with a lot of money.
Yes, they are.
And they come down here, and they see what they want, and they can get it for so much less than what they're used to paying for from where they're coming from, and they will overbid and outbid you every time because they've got the cash. They already are coming from a market where they knew I had to have my cash anyway.
Wow.
They're coming into a market where folks here have been spoiled. They didn't have to have all that cash.
That's true. Wow.
So they're not able to compete.
Wow. I lost what I was going to actually say. I think it was it was kind of good, but hopefully it'll come to me, Deanna. We were just talking about the people who come here and have that cash, and they're used to paying a higher price, but they're getting so much more here. And so just even stating, just talking about who this market is kind of geared towards. We're not trying to say this as if it is completely impossible if you're a certain type of buyer, first-time home buyer, but just wanting to put it in perspective and just giving you the facts as far as who this market is geared towards. And definitely people who are coming from places and have sold homes that they have in California, in New York, or those places like that. And again, you can get so much more and pay less compared to those states. They have the cash. There's really no competition with cash. There's none. Cash money. So who is this market geared towards, Deanna, and what are some solutions that you maybe see as far as navigating this market? I'm a buyer. I want to purchase a home. Maybe I've never purchased a home before. What type of insight do you see just from your lender perspective that maybe will help a buyer, whether first time or not a first time buyer?
Okay. Well, let me speak first about your first time home buyers. I will never, ever discourage anybody from wanting to be a homeowner. It's the best thing that I ever did. It's the best thing I think that I can do to help the next one achieve the dream. But I will say that this market is rough right now for a first-time buyer that does not have access to funds. Your plan A should always be to have your own money. If you have a 401k, a retirement, if you can get a gift from a family member, savings, you should always have your own money. Be prepared to have your own money. Unfortunately, I know there are a lot of realtors that really promote first-time home buyers and first-time home buyers down payment assistance programs. And the one thing that first-time home buyers looking for these options need to understand is that we are very blessed in this market that we have a number of programs, but most programs only give you assistance with the down payment. So the closing costs are going to be another thing that you have to be considering in the cost of what it's going to take for you to purchase. If the sellers right now are not willing to give any kinds of concessions, they're not fixing anything, they're not reducing their prices, and they're not willing to pay any kinds of concession towards your closing costs. If you don't have any of your own money, even if you could get down payment assistance, you're still not going to be able to compete in this market because most programs only give you enough for the down payment and not the closing cost. So then you got to think about, okay, how much or how important is it to me to become a homeowner? Because if the priority is to be a homeowner, are you also willing to go where the opportunity is? There are one or two programs, just a few, that may offer enough money to give you down payment and closing costs, but then you got to be willing to live where those programs are operating, where they're good, because not all programs are good everywhere. You have one program that's a statewide program, but it doesn't give you enough for all of your down payments sometimes. You have a few other programs that might be specific to a county. You might have another that's just specific to the city or specific municipalities. So depending on just how important it is, are you flexible in this market to go where you might need to go to get the assistance that you need? And also, think about this as a short-term plan for your future. This is your starter home. This is not your forever home.
Right.
So if you look at it like, okay, buying something is better for me, for my future, and for what I want to do moving forward than continuing to rent, then it may mean that you need to compromise on some things. So it's kind of like that 80-20 rule that you hear about in dating. I say it's applicable for this. If you found a home that checks 80% of your boxes and the other 20% is something that you can live with, go for it, because there's not enough inventory out there for people to be overly particular about a house, because if you don't move on something quickly, someone else is going to snatch it up before you can even think about it. The days of I'm going to pray on it tonight are over. Okay, so someone saw that house earlier today. They prayed on it already. They're coming back this afternoon.
Absolutely.
They saw it yesterday. They prayed on it last night, and they're coming back today. So you have to move swiftly.
Right.
Another trend that I'm seeing is that there are a lot of out-of-state buyers, like I said, that are looking to relocate here, and they are going in blind. They are making an offer based upon their realtor going and walking through the house and FaceTiming or maybe there's a video where they had a drone, or someone, the listing agent has a video presentation. So there are people buying homes, and they've never walked through the house. I just closed a loan last week. My client moved down here from Maryland, and that's exactly what they did. They did not see the house until the morning of their closing when they did a walkthrough. Okay?
Wow.
So I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing very little contingencies. Inspection contingencies, no due days of due diligence. I mean, I'm seeing all kinds of shortcuts. They want to close as soon as possible. Anything they can to get it closed as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, it's really not in the interest of the buyer when you can't get an inspection.
See, that's the keeping it real part, Deanna. You're stating the facts, but you're also letting them know the outcome of that. And I was going to actually say, and I've said this before on another video, that there are statistics that show that over 50% of the buyers that purchased in 2020 have, I don't know if the word was like a buyer's remorse, but they were not happy in a sense that you skipped out on contingencies. And let's just briefly speak on this for like 30 seconds. You want to talk to your agent. And I know some of these, some agents may tell you to do that just to get the win. But you need to know what's going on with this property. Whether you decide to, if you don't put a contingency in your contract, I would say you still want to have that inspection done. You still want to know what you're buying, because like you talked about dating. We date and don't ask questions. Then you wonder why. Like my pastor say, this man's head spinning around in a circle, he's spitting out green stuff. You don't know why, because you didn't ask questions. And it's very similar to this real estate market. You need to know what you're going into. You want to know what you're buying. And I think that will maybe help contribute to being less remorseful in your purchase, or having that buyer's remorse. But, again, it's always a great idea to purchase, especially with the rates being low. They're not market or record lows anymore, but they are still low. And, it's always a great idea to own versus to rent. You just have to figure out where you are, what will work best for you. And if you're not there, we can help put you on a path and a plan to get there. Anything else you want to add, Deanna, towards that as we come to a close?
I would say this much. This is a great time to buy. I know that as a seller, in some cases, you're worried about, okay, well, if I sell my house, I know I can get as much as I wanted for my house, but then after I sell my house, where am I going to move? And I know as a buyer, you're scared to jump out here because you're hearing all these horror stories. Well, for just as many people and just as many horror stories as you hear, there are success stories as well.
That's
so
absolutely.
Give yourself time, okay? If you have a lease that's expiring in October, start looking earlier. Start looking now. I will tell you, don't be such a penny pincher to the point where you're like, well, I don't want to move into my new house until I'm ready to move out of my apartment because you're worried about paying some extra months of rent or having to pay to break a lease.
Right.
You're going to have to give yourself more time in this market because you may have to make several offers.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I have a client, bless her heart, we have been working together for 4 months or so. She made over 30 offers before she got an offer accepted because she was very specific about where she wanted to live.
Right. Well,
and
she
so
stayed the
she had
course.
to wait for homes to become available.
Right.
But just like she was very specific, other people were more or just that. And she was losing out because she didn't have as much money and she couldn't outbid people. She was getting outbid. So I will tell you that it's a great time to buy because rates are low, so your money will stretch further as long as you are prepared and you are realistic in your expectations and you're not expecting to get your first or fourth or fifth offer accepted on the spot. Expect the competition. Come with your highest and best more than anything, make sure you're working with a reputable lender that is in your market and that you have a solid pre-approval letter.
Absolutely.
The pre-approval letter should spell out the terms of the type of loan you're getting. It should tell them, that you've already made a full application, that your documentation and everything has been presented, your credit, your assets, your income has been, reviewed and verified and vetted. You should have an ironclad application when you get out in this market.
Absolutely, guys. That is a great, awesome tip, because we have seen deals fall apart because buyer thought that they were fully approved and they weren't. There was something else missing, something needed, something they didn't have, and you maybe have missed an opportunity. So definitely a great tip, guys. There's so much more that we can talk about. Deanna, I so thank you for your time and your insight. Guys, please stay tuned. I will have Deanna back, and we're going to talk about the appraisals and some things that she's noticing, maybe how that's being handled when the appraisal comes back lower than what the buyer has asked. So we didn't get a chance to talk about that. Deanna, can you please share your information and how buyers can get in touch with you?
Sure. You can reach me on my cell phone. It's on literally 24 hours a day. I should say 25/8, but it's on. The number is 404-964-2683. You can text. That's usually the quickest way for me to respond.
Okay.
My email address is D as in dog, E as in elephant, Turner @loandepot.com. So emails also come directly to my phone. Definitely, if you want to go out and take a look at who I am and my company and check us out, you can go to www.loandepot.com/DE Turner. That will take you right to my page. You can also complete an application on that line if you like, and then I will back up with you typically within 24 to 48 hours. So that's pretty much it for me. Otherwise, you can check me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. Guys, if you're interested in getting approved for a loan, please reach out to Deanna. Let her know that you heard about her on Your Real Estate Tea. I'm Andrea Farley. It is my honor to always be here with you every Tuesday at 12:30 to teach, educate, so you can achieve. You can always catch us on YouTube after that's not live under Dream Real Estate. If you're interested in donating to this particular show, our Cash App is $ D as in Delta, REA, D as in Delta, AY 511. And you can always catch us on Roku TV as well, on TV 1061. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in today with us. Guys, remember, all things can be possible. If this is your goal and dream, you can do it. Guys, remember, health is wealth, and real estate can be too. Have a blessed day.
TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond.